Okay, we'll call Public Works Planning Committee to order. We'll call the roll.
Commissioner Dodd?
Here.
Commissioner Cush?
Present.
Commissioner Nipper?
Here.
Commissioner Piercy?
Here.
Commissioner Sereno?
Here.
Commissioner Stevens?
Here.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Here.
Need to approve the minutes.
You need approved minutes from last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I've reviewed those minutes and I would make a motion to approve and accept to the archives.
Made in a second. Just call in and
Do the acclamation.
all in favor?
Aye.
Building code.
Highway Department.
Highway Department, excuse me, Mayor.
Good evening, gentlemen. Miss Becky. All right, I've laid two little items there in front of you. We'll knock out the first one being this fancy orange road book we've got here. Everyone should have one either in their file downstairs, or it looks like several of you picked them up. The Road Commission voted and approved this yesterday, and we're just sending it through for your approval or to get on the full commission. It's just it's kind of a bookkeeping thing that it has to go through here. Last year we come in at 976.59 road miles. This year we're coming in at 970.34. We lost a little over 11 miles on county roads, but we gained a little over 5.5 on the subdivision roads, so we're still down, but down to 6 1/4.
Where did the roads go? How did that occur?
Annexation.
Annexation is called. The city of Murfreesboro just come out and they were, well, and town of Smyrna picked up a couple of sections of roads and things, and just, I know not everybody pays attention, but just for information that is required, the first couple of pages, the first page tells you what was annexed and or like remeasured for things. The next one is even a list of the subdivision streets that get taken in from, because of when the book is published, it's usually December 1st through like our November meeting, and then so each year it'll be like that. So there's a little more information at the front of the road book for you.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I'll make a motion we approve the road book as presented.
Second.
Made in a second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, and the next little item, Mr. Brooks apologized, he wasn't able to be here tonight. He just asked me to bring this letter, and everybody has a copy of it. I don't know if you want me to read it, or if you, it just says, the top of it says Rocky Fork Road Long Range Transportation Plan. It says currently the Rutherford County Highway Department section of Rocky Fork Road is not listed on the 2007 Rutherford County Long Range Transportation Plan. Therefore, the Highway Department would ask that consideration be given to adding the Rocky Fork Road. At its present time, the county's current section is 4.5 miles, and add to the future Rutherford County Long Range Plan Transportation Plan. Have any questions?
Do we need a motion to accept that?
It's up to y'all. It's just something that Mr. Brooks wanted to, if y'all want it for on the record.
Okay.
What would happen if we didn't add it to the long range plan? I mean, would we still have to pave it?
Oh, yes, sir. We would still have to maintain it. The complete Rocky Fork Road from Old National Highway to Williamson County is 6.8 miles.
Okay.
Rutherford County section, that one of the sections we maintain starts at the I-24 bridge and heads what I would call south away, and then so we still maintain it. We still resurface it and post the speed limits and the stop signs and everything like that. It's just by adding it to the long range transportation plan, and Matthew can speak to it. It hopefully would get somebody to pay a little better attention, that if some extra money somewhere come up that we could do something like shoulder improvement or something like that, that there would, somebody would look at that one as opposed to another road.
Okay.
Mr. Burgess.
You'll notice that our current long-range transportation plan was approved in 2007. And that went, it took quite a bit of time to do that. That had already been done sort of before I got here. So it identifies those roads that really, and sort of prioritizes those that need to be some major improvements made. So what I'm telling you, I don't know if it's ripe yet for this discussion because we may have some changes in our commission membership, but this is a year or two process, and we ought to, our transportation plan, long-range road plan, should be updated. And all of you know that Murfreesboro has just done that for theirs, so we really ought to start that process, and I don't know when you want to start it, but, and this, I don't know really how we actually just add one road to that. We've not done that before, and I don't, so that sort of predates all of my history here, but I think just let it go in the record that you support including whenever this plan is actually updated, and there's a little bit of a complicated process on that, that this road be added as one of the first ones that you agree needs major improvement. And I'll leave it up to you when you want to start the plan. It will take some outside assistance, likely, maybe a consulting firm of some sort to guide this whole process. A lot has happened in 10 years on our road systems and the need and where the need is really located. So that's just a little bit of a heads up on what's going to be before you.
Do you know if there's been any internal discussion about update on the road plan?
It would usually come from our planning engineering office, not from the highway department.
Yeah.
I think those
And we,
discussions.
if I can speak, we have had some internal discussions about that. Of course, as Mayor Burgess said, with the recent adoption of Murfreesboro's updated transportation plan, there's a lot of similarities to what is currently on ours, but as he said, a lot's changed over the last 10 plus years. So there's a lot of differences too. So it'd be nice to have something that was consistent with the recommendations that they're making, at the same time identifying other road projects that were outside the scope of what the city of Murfreesboro was looking at.
So, Doug, is that on the 2018 agenda perhaps?
It's something we're looking into. We haven't actually developed the 2018 work plan or anything yet, but that is something certainly that'll garner some attention.
Okay.
And it might be when they're preparing their budget that it'd be a good time for them to decide if that needs to be included and how you're going to go forward with actually doing this.
Okay.
It's probably more than just staff can do.
Yeah.
Just curious, so if there's an outside consultant, is that something that planning and engineering hires, department hires, your highway?
It would probably be, and I'm Matthew and Mayor, I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
No, that's fine. No, that's fine.
But chances are what we would probably recommend is developing some sort of a steering committee. The last time we went through a process to hire a consultant, of course, was for the process we went through with the comprehensive plan and the zoning and subdivision regulation update. What we ended up doing was kind of getting a committee together, and then we took a request for proposals, and then we evaluated the proposals, and we picked the best bang for the buck, if you will. I would envision something like that happening, getting ourselves, our department, planning, engineering, the highway department involved, all of us kind of going together and doing a similar process. Is kind of how I would envision that.
All right. Well, based on that, I would tend to lean towards the comments of Mayor Burgess and suggest then that I would make a motion that we support the inclusion of Rocky Fork Road and put that at the top of the list when we go through and prepare our new updated version of the Rutherford County Long Range Plan.
I'll second
Does that sound like a legitimate, okay, motion?
Would it not be better if we just said that we acknowledged it rather than giving support?
Well, acknowledge doesn't really give it much teeth.
It's not, it doesn't need any right now, going on what the mayor's comments. It needs to wait.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, that road is absolutely critical for our future economic development. If we want to land white-collar jobs, we've got to have a corridor that connects us to Williamson County. And at steering committee last night, we were actually talking about the I-24 interchange there at Rocky Fork Road, and we passed a resolution and sent it to our committee to discuss tonight about asking our state and federal legislators to prioritize that interchange and get that thing moving, because it's going to be 10 or 12 years if they approve it before it even starts. But they're not going to approve it unless they know that this is going to be some kind of connection to Williamson County. So that has all kinds of potential for economic development and growth out there. I do believe we need to say that we support it and we want it near the top of the list, because it has a lot of potential to increase our tax base, to create jobs, and to develop a lot of that dormant land out there. And it also will help the traffic on Sam Ridley Parkway. I don't know if any of you have driven on Sam Ridley Parkway in the morning or after work, but it takes 15 minutes sometimes to get from one end to the other if it's full of traffic, and it's only getting worse. So this interchange, if we can get it going and get Rocky Fork Road improved, that will also help with the traffic issues in Smyrna. So this is a critical project, and I think the way the motion is worded is very in order. And we do have a member of the road board here tonight. Commissioner Johnson is on the road board, and he was asked to come to give the road board's feedback on the interchange motion and possibly this too. So I don't know if we wanted to include him on our discussion.
Is it appropriate for this time, or is it additional business coming up, new business?
No, come on.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here. We did have a lengthy discussion at the road board yesterday morning regarding this, and the practicality of it is kind of a negative effect. The theory is great, but when you're looking at the impact that it's going to have on the economy of Rutherford County, this 6.8 miles, something that Rutherford County would be responsible for on Rocky Fork Road, it would be a major undertaking, and you'll be looking at probably, well, basically the 6.8 miles, just to put down a layer of asphalt, be close to $1 million. Okay, that's not taking into consideration all the highway right-of-way and all the extra that's involved because of the topography of that section of the road, the 40-foot right-of-way, and the hills and curves and so forth and so on. And of course, there's no guarantee that Williamson County would be willing to pick up their part of it if it stopped right at the Williamson County line, any kind of improvement that they would do. I don't have any problem, and the road board doesn't have any problem with improvement, but the way it stands right now, that would be a task somewhere in the range of, and the road board budget right now is a little over $10 million. And that project alone, just that 6.8 miles, would be over probably $10, $12 million. It'd be more than the budget that we have. And my understanding is that this has been on the agenda for that interchange there, been on there. It's been rejected a couple of times due to the fact that the proximity of the other interchange doesn't seem feasible. So, you know, of course, you can always ask, but the possibility in my lifetime and some of the people around here's lifetime of that happening is very slim, because acquiring the highway right-of-ways and the lawsuits and everything involved with the people's property, so forth and so on, it's a long-range task. But this is a good step in this, with this memo here, and y'all approving that to put it in the long-range transportation plan. But on the flip side of it, this 6.8 miles that on Rocky Fork Road is just less than 1% of the 970 miles that the County Highway Department is responsible for. And but you know, there's nothing constant but change. But I think right now, it needs to be slow walked a little bit, but this is the right direction to go with this recommendation to support this long-range transportation plan. But as far as looking for any ground to be broken for an interchange in the next short period of time, it's, and also the impact that it would have, like I said, on the bottleneck, if Williamson County doesn't do anything, the impact that dropping all this traffic and come to a dead end, said, well, what are we going to do? Here we are at the Williamson County line. They're wanting to make it a thoroughfare for accessibility to Williamson County. But dropping it off at that juncture there would be a nightmare, So that's all I have to input. If anybody has any questions or anything, I'll be glad to try and answer them. Miss Mary here, she's very much up on it, and this young gentleman right here, there's nothing smarter than all of us together. None of us are smarter than a combination. Okay.
Is the next big intersection in Williamson County at Noblesville Road?
I do believe so. I think that's correct.
I'll call for the vote on the original motion.
Okay. Any roll call?
No.
Either way you want to do it.
Okay, let's do a roll call then.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
No.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
6-1.
Mr. Chairman, while we're on this topic, while we're just talking about this, I would like to also make a motion that we send a recommendation to the full commission to ask our state and federal legislators to prioritize the I-24 interchange in Smyrna at Rocky Fork Road.
You did make a motion?
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
And I understand that there's concerns, but eventually Smyrna is going to keep annexing out that way, and Smyrna is going to become responsible for more of that 6.8 miles.
I know what it says.
Okay.
Just a quick comment. I think as the highway department, we want to show support that intersection or the interchange that Smyrna is looking to get. We support that. We, as a community, need for our residents and for Smyrna's residents, we see the need for it and support that. A lot of engineering analysis will have to go into how that breaks out. The extents by TDOT and the Federal Highway Administration will dictate what improvements will be needed for those corridors, and until we know precisely what those are, that'll dictate how finances break out later. But the general resolution to what Mr. Stevens or Commissioner Stevens is speaking of, we do support that there be an improvement there to help our residents and the town of Smyrna residents.
And there's no doubt it's going to cost money, but I think that there's potential there to get the state to put some money into it. I know Smyrna would be willing to put some money into it, and I would be willing to both put some of our money into it too, because the businesses and the growth that would come through there is going to be very good for our tax base. It'll be commercial property through there, and that's taxed higher than residential property. And we don't have to provide as many services for commercial property as we do for residential. And if we don't act soon and figure out what we're going to do with this, developers are going to buy all that land and build houses on it. And if nothing happens for 20 more years, this won't be a discussion. There's not going to be more place for them to put a road. So we need to figure out a way to get this thing moving. Every year at our meeting with the legislators, we ask them what's been done since the last year on this project, and they say they've met with people, they've talked about it, and we always ask them what action has been taken on it, and there's never really any action taken on it. And so last year I asked Senator Tracy, what can we do to see some action on your part? And of course, he's no longer there, but he told us, well, y'all can pass a resolution and send that to us. That would help us. So if we do this and send it to them, maybe they will look at it a little more carefully and seriously and try to get something moving with it.
Got the motion. Call the roll then.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Kush?
Sure.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
No.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
I'd like the opportunity to explain why I voted no. I don't see how we can pull this one section out of 900 miles of county roads to spend that type of money on it, and there's other sections in our county that needs to work just as well. That's the reason I voted no both times.
Anything else?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Y'all have a good evening.
Thank you. Thanks, y'all.
Building code.
Good evening.
November was about the same as October. We issued 263 permits, 69 of which was single-family dwellings, for a revenue total of $95,631. That is our- We issued a total of 263 permits. 69 of those were single-family dwellings for a total revenue of $95,631 in permit fees. And if nobody has any questions, I'll move on to development tax. Development tax, we collected a total of $431,250. And if there's no questions, zoning inspections, we did a total of 155 for the month.
Which was down from October.
It is, but typically it does go down in the
In the
fall.
fall,
Yeah,
yeah.
we get a lot of, don't have tall weeds and grass or the swimming pools and stuff.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
I make the motion to approve the report as presented.
I'll second.
Made and second. Call roll.
No, we can do acclamation.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Danny. Oh, Doug.
Mr. Bush, how's everybody doing tonight? Just have a couple things for your consideration tonight. First thing, of course, is the available lot inventory. You'll see on your iPads a copy of that report for both the recorded lots and those that are still somewhere else in the pipeline. Total lots at the end of November, we're looking at 683. We've been kind of hovering in that range, somewhere between 600 and 700 for the last several months. Been trending up a little bit. We've seen some additional subdivisions be recorded, which is why we're seeing an increase of lots. We had several that were recorded last month, so I wasn't surprised to see this go up a little bit, but we seem to be hovering in that, again, 600 to 700 range. And you can see the other part of that report, the not recorded plats, we still have quite a few lots somewhere else in the pipeline, about a little under 3,500, 3,460 is what we're looking at right now. So if there's no questions on that, I will move into the rezoning report. The Planning Commission considered two different rezoning requests at their November meeting. Only one of those is going to be brought to you next week, and that is for property on Sulphur Springs Road, 4450. And this is the property itself is about, let's see, 10 and a half acres. They're only looking to do about 3 acres of the property to be rezoned. You'll see some attachments in with your agenda packets on your iPads showing the area that they're wanting to have rezoned. The applicant's proposing to zone this portion to commercial services for the potential use of a gas station and convenience market. They've also stated they would like to have 2 additional retail spaces. The remainder of the property would remain zoned RM, or residential medium density, as it's currently zoned. The overall goal, and this was according to the materials submitted by the applicant, is to provide gas to local residents and traveling vehicles along Interstate 840. You'll see on one of the attachments in there that there is a TVA easement that cuts across this property. There's no line there, it's just an easement that's been there for quite some time. Of course, no development, at least building-wise, would be allowed in that. They would have to design the site accordingly so that they wouldn't be encroaching into that. They could do parking lots and maneuvering areas, but nothing with structures, even though there's not a line there. There were some questions regarding the screening and lighting on the property from an adjacent property owner lives in a subdivision to the west, and how that would be regulated. We explained to them that in our zoning ordinance we do have requirements for what we call performance standards for light, sound, those kind of things. So they would have to submit a lighting plan to make sure that they were in conformance with that. There was also some other questions regarding the development of some of the adjacent properties. We've seen some other rezoning requests in this area as well as possible future road improvements to Sulphur Springs Road. Besides that, there wasn't just a lot of other discussion during the Planning Commission's meeting, and they did recommend a unanimous vote for approval by again, 10-4 and 0 against. The other application was on Couchville Pike. After discussion, it was recommended denied by the Planning Commission. Subsequently, the applicant withdrew the application. So I mentioned it on the memo, but I don't have the staff report in there because it's not coming forward to you. So I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So the backside of the TVA easement is staying RM.
Correct.
And it fronts, I see it fronts on that timber Ruby Drive. Is that correct?
Well, Ruby Drive this is the property where it ends right here.
It has some connectivity back there.
Yeah, not a lot though.
Oh, that's another property.
Yeah, this is a property over here. So yeah, it's the corners touch, but that's about it. So what they plan on doing, if you look at the concept plan that they've provided, they would, of course, this isn't just a rough drawing. Of course, they wouldn't be bound by this, but there'd be basically this would become a flag lot. This area right through here, and then this would be the area where the commercial development would be. So they would still have access down the Sulphur Springs Road.
And y'all were cool with that?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's not unusual. I mean, quite frankly, this is really all they're needing for what they want to do for their development. It doesn't make sense to zone the whole thing.
I make a motion to approve the report.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Doug.
Ton and ways.
Good evening, how are y'all? Start with the landfill report as usual. As you can see, the landfill is still running a little more busy than normal. Our average in the past has been about 3,000 tons a month. We're still close to 3,800 tons. So that may push our closure date a little bit sooner than May. Of course, we can't overbill it, so we're going to have to pay close attention to that and make sure we stay under our threshold. Convenience centers, recycle centers have still stayed rather busy. They're actually a little bit down in November from what they were November of last year, but October was quite a bit higher. Maybe that's going to balance us out a little bit. Our recycle rate has done a little bit better. Our trash volume still continues to flow, pretty heavily. School volumes are still up as well because of the numbers of school children. But any questions?
motion to approve his report.
Second.
Made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
That's it, I'm
Hang on, that's unusual.
Okay, it is unusual, okay.
done. That was fast.
I'm done too.
Oh, okay.
Wait a minute.
Yes, sir.
You can't get away from
Can't
it.
get away, can't get away. I believe it was the month before last, suggestion was made to maybe view the option of extending or changing the entrances to the compact centers to pull the people off state highways that are waiting. Was there any thought given to that, or?
It has been. Leanna Center, we have changed direction of flow there, bringing it across that parking lot where the ball fields are to where they're not accessing directly into the center, which has helped. It hasn't 100% stopped it, but it's gotten, if they pull up there relatively close together, then get 16 cars in there. So that's 16 cars. It's not on Sulphur Springs Road.
Yeah.
And that brings us in to where we can make it work. The Walter Hill Center, I assume that's what you're speaking of, would be a little different. You're bringing the cars down around the open tops, which is going to be a potential for the residents to stop and throw away the trash in open top instead of coming onto the Packer. That would be something we would have to try to do some lane barrier type things or something. Signage really doesn't work. They really don't read those. But, that's what we've come up with so far. Not to say we're not going to change it, but that's been a big stumbling block so far.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Any news on another meeting date for the solid waste?
No, sir. No, sir. Haven't really talked to them a whole lot.
Okay.
We're hoping that we can get something going. Of course, our landfill is going to close this year. Middle Point still, taking in trash regularly. We've got to come up with a solution of whatever that is going to be. And we don't have that solution just yet. We've got those options that we mentioned last month. No one solution is going to fix everything we have. It's going to be a multiple tiered solution. Looking at the possibility of doing a transfer station on the south side of the county, but trying to find one and get it located in the right direction and the right location. Needs to be next to a major street, and it really doesn't need to be in a neighborhood. It would be actually better in a commercial type setting, but those type settings are pretty expensive.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you, Mac.
Let's go back to work.
All right.
Yeah.
He's got that.
Before we get into any other business, we need to do a reschedule for our January meeting. Now, we have 3 options. However, we don't really get to pick. We don't have first choice. Steering committee gets the first choice of the 3 dates I'm going to give you, but they can't make a decision until they chat with the legislatures, because that first meeting in January is with the legislatures. So they have to wait until they hear back from legislatures. So January 3, 9, or 10 are going to be the 3 dates that we have available for our next meeting for this committee. But again, steering is going to have first choice of those 3 dates. So once we get their pick, we will get to pick from the other 2 remaining. So we'll just send out a notice of what that is. But I guess I will ask this committee if any of those 3, 9, or 10 absolutely won't work. I guess now would be a good time to.
Right, 9 and 10 is on what day?
That is, my calendar just went dark.
I see Wednesday is the 13th.
The 3rd is a Wednesday, the 9th is Tuesday, and the 10th is a Wednesday.
Okay, any of them.
Okay, all right. So just hang tight, and as soon as steering picks their date, we'll send out a notice on when the next date is. Thank you very much.
So it's definitely not going to be on the 2nd.
It's definitely not going to be on the 2nd.
The county is closed that day. It's a holiday.
You can come on the 2nd if you'd like. Okay.
I see I have yoga.
Probably a quicker.
You have yoga.
I don't know if I can-
You have hot yoga on that
I
day,
don't know
don't
if
you?
I can make it.
Okay. All right, we're ready for any other business.
Anybody got any other business?
Welcome, students. Did you learn anything? Okay, well, come back next month. We'll learn some more.
We will adjourn.